And we're literally seeing an epidemic of these issues in the United States right now.
Dr. Robert Melillo is the co-founder of Brain Balance Centers.
1 out of every 10 children in the United States now is diagnosed with ADHD, and that's a real increase.
My name is Dr. Robert Melillo. My life's mission is to help kids and families with special needs. My wife, Carolyn, makes it all possible. Welcome to our family.
Hello, welcome to our show. I'm Dr. Robert Melillo. This is my beautiful wife, Carolyn. Today we're talking about autism, and so we're going to start off with what's making the headlines. And actually, there's really tragic news, as we know. There was the killing in San Diego or in California that happened on a college campus, and then, as we can see in the headlines, there was another one
in Oregon
that just happened in Oregon. And you had just, showed me on Facebook the article stating that there's been 74 school shootings
in the last 2 years since Sandy
Hook. In less
Hook.
than 2 years, right, since Sandy Hook. And I think the important thing, and I've done a lot of interviews about this, as you know, because the boy in California had Asperger's. So did the kid in Sandy Hook. He also was believed to have schizophrenia. And the important thing that we're talking about is that this isn't just about gun violence, because guns didn't suddenly explode. There's obviously something going on, and there's a relationship between this rash or increase or epidemic in developmental disabilities and this. It's not that one necessarily is directly related, but
and
there's a relationship.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that the kids, especially children with Asperger's, spend a lot of time in front of video games, especially violent video games. And parents really, really need to know that this can cause psychosis. This
Right.
can actually cause violent behavior and almost a misinterpretation of reality versus fantasy
Right.
in video games and in real life.
Yeah, we just did that Twitter chat on ADHD and its relationship, where, most of the research clearly shows that computer games actually contribute to ADHD, but really the research shows that violent video games are the worst, and that's actually the next headline. There was an article that was on Facebook and also out last week talking about the use of iPads and iPhones and computers and how they can literally cause ADHD.
Well, you see, I know living close to the city, you see a lot of children in restaurants, and they seem so well behaved because they're sitting in front of this, iPad, and the parents are having a lovely conversation, and the child is not acting up. But actually, when you put a child in front of an iPad like that, and they're playing games, they're constantly being rewarded, and when you put them in front of a book, they
Right.
can't focus. They're not getting a reward.
And that's
they can't.
a really important thing, that they're building attention, but not the type of attention they need, not sustained attention. They're building this real quickly rewarded attention, and that's what parents don't get. They're like,
No.
well, they can pay attention when they're, watching the game. Why can't they pay attention? And it's really important, because it literally, what it does is it stimulates the left side of the brain and inhibits the right side, which is really where we get sustained attention.
Right.
So the last article was about looking at the sense of touch and how, actually a few years ago in the University of Arizona, they identified that there are these fibers that called C fibers, nerve fibers, that are very small, that we used to think only transmitted pain, but now we realize they actually transmit the sense of touch, but specific touch, light touch that really has an emotional quality, and that kids with autism have a deficiency in that network.
And add to that the fact that you have 2 working parents now, and maybe that sense of touch is not really being provided by caregivers, which is the hard touch and the soft touch, because one they need more than the other, but they can't feel light touch unless
Right.
they have the hard touch.
Well, the thing is that they're hypersensitive to light touch, so a lot of parents want to hug their kids, but the kids, recoil. And the way to get around that is like what Temple Grandin wrote about, is
Right.
deep pressure, which is really a right brain stimulus. You get the deep pressure, and then the calms them down, and then they can go to the light touch. So stay tuned, because when we come back, we're going to introduce you to folks from Eye to Eye, a mentoring project that's helping improve the everyday life of those with learning disabilities. That and much more when we return.